Randy Rhoads is the James Dean of hard rock and roll. There's this little skinny kid, and he was great.
Quiet Riot came out, it was this huge sound, and the sound was coming straight from the guitar player.
Randy was always louder than God.
Out of a million guitar players, you're gonna get Randy and Eddie and Jimmy.
Playing with Randy, it was just like being a huge celebrity. He was a real virtuoso.
You could just tell this guy was going to be a star.
It sounded really amazing. It was really fun.
They just got that whole club shaking.
Very sophisticated. Quiet Riot like to do things a little bit outside of the box.
This was the years of Guitar Heroes. He'd be in a room and people would just turn and look.
Celebrity is what he had. Randy was the light, and everyone gravitated to the light.
And here we are live. A little bit of issue going back and forth. My software was not working all that well, but everybody heard everything. Well, that's the big thing. So welcome to Musings, Rants, and Guitars. We are live on Sunday Evening Live with very special guests. We have author, photographer, and good friend of the band Quiet Riot, and Randy and Kevin. Ron Sobol is here, and you can see him down using the lower right on your screen, and in the upper right, standing in the corner, is a very close friend of Randy and Kevin's as well, Kim McNair. Kim was also a musician in Los Angeles in the 70s and 80s. As a quick little background, Kim and I were roommates in Los Angeles for many years. He is my big brother. He is the godfather of my kids, and I love the guy. All right. So, welcome, guys. Thanks so much.
Welcome, guys. Thank you for coming on. Thanks for joining the show.
Yeah,
thanks for meeting you.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good show. You know, when this is a little funny part is when I was roommate with Kim. You know, he had talked about, you know, being friends with Randy, and I'm like, fucking whatever. Everybody says they're friends of somebody, right? And then obviously, living in a house with him for so long, you find out, well, he wasn't full of shit. But I also never told him that Randy was my biggest influence as a guitar player, even though at the time I was playing bass and then I switched to guitar. So we didn't, you know, I would hear the stories, but, you know, and absorbing the stories from Kim was amazing, but I just never got out that, you know, like Randy was everything to me, you know, because I didn't want him to feel uncomfortable, like, wow, you know, like Randy was my hero and shit. But he was, so it was great to do, and you know, getting to hear the stories firsthand were great. And then introduced me to Ron's book, and I was just the book and the documentary. If you are a fan of Quiet Riot and Randy, wow, you got to get it. It is really that good. I mean, these guys were there. I mean, this isn't somebody just doing a biography. These are the guys that lived it with these guys. Okay, so we're gonna hawk it a few times. So it's Red Match Productions. You can get the book and the DVD, and if you want, and
RedMatchProductions.com.
RedMatchProductions.com. If you go directly there, Ron will sign it for you. Okay, and I do it because he does it in a really cool silver pen, and I'll show you. Okay, he might have given you a gold pen if you ask him, right?
Joey will show you the book.
Yeah, and it's not a little book. It is not. Look at the size of this. It's a big book, hardcover. Comes the DVD. You know, it's DVD. Really it's a great thing. And look,
and it's lots of pictures.
I got him to sign it. And
look at that.
On top of that, if you buy it on RedMatchProductions.com, you get a bonus Quiet Riot CD down to the bone.
Awesome. Ooh, that's wow! Absolutely, it's a great deal. It's a great book. It's great insight into, you know, a lot of my friends are, and myself as well, huge Randy Rhoads fans, and I remember the days back when lessons on cassette, right? So they would be these broken out lessons and with the tablature and everything written, and everybody, all of us would be sitting around listening to these and trying to figure out what he was doing, because it was so different from what other people were doing, and including, different and original, and as much as Eddie Van Halen. So I mean, he was as much of an innovator, and for a lot of reasons. First off, just his playing and his ability to perform, which is fascinating. A lot of people don't get to talk about that as much as they do his playing. But he was a great performer too, and a great teacher. But you guys know this, and I'll let you take it from there.
There's a small portion in the movie where one of the producers, Peter Margolis, used to take lessons from Randy, and he kept them all on tape. So we have a little section in there where you hear Randy giving a lesson, and he's also playing like Van Halen, because Peter wanted to learn a Van Halen song. So Randy's giving him a lesson about how to play a Van Halen song.
Wow.
That's great.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember listening to that part, and I actually haven't listened to that documentary in probably a couple of years now. Wow, my camera is going crazy today. What is going on here? My camera's drunk. Camera,
it's
go
the
home.
heat.
You're drunk. Yeah.
It's the heat.
Yeah, that is. It was really fascinating to hear the lesson. It was really cool. Everything in that documentary was so well done, Ron.
Thank you.
Did you do that, like that whole thing, like that was your baby, right? Everything was.
Well, look, I had help, the producers and but the real hero, I would think, is the editor, because he took all the stuff I had, all my movies, pictures, and everything, and him and the producer Andrew pretty much put it together as far as after the fact. Like, I let them edit it. I wasn't really watching them edit it. I said, okay, show me when it's done.
Right. Awesome.
It was a great experience.
The nice
If you guys buy it, anybody buys it, I hope you like it. Most people seem to.
Yeah.
The nice thing is, you see documentaries that are done by somebody who likes somebody or they study somebody, but this is a documentary done by Ron, who was there. He was part of what he was documenting. So you get a whole different, you get a real perspective, not an interpretation from somebody.
You got time for a strange little quick story?
We have time.
Absolutely. We have all the
whatever
time in the
you
world.
want to talk about, man.
I'm
Okay,
I'm
so-
trying to fix a screen here. Go ahead. You tell the story.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get this done.
Before this movie was a thought in my head, Kevin wanted to do a book. So I was looking through all my stuff and had it all ready for him. And then he decided that he was too busy and it would cost too much money. So fast forward, Kevin passes away, but he had all my movies. I had them all on a Super 8 reel, all my Live Quiet Riot movies that I ended up using the movie. I'd also put them on a not a DVD. I'd put them on a VHS.
Okay.
So I go over to his mom, says, "Well, come over, see if there's anything here you want, at his house." And I say, "All I want is my movies back." Kevin had called me and said, "I've got your movies. Do you want to come and get them?" And I said, "No, I'll just come see you." And he didn't say, "You want to come get them?" He goes, "You want me to mail them to you?" I go, "No, I do not want them getting lost in the mail." Right. So I'll come and get him. I was going to come in December, and he died in November. So anyways, his mom says, "I don't see anything here that's what you described." I go over there. I find him in the garage. I find the videotape in the garage. So, but I don't have the original film. And I'm going, somebody stole it, because his house did get broken into, and a bunch of stuff was stolen after he died.
Wow.
So yesterday, I'm asking all around, and I'm asking on the internet, does anybody have my movies? I don't care if you have them. I'm not going to press charges. You can keep them. I just want to know if they're out there. Right. So nobody answers me, and nobody's got them. So I actually yesterday went to visit Kevin's mom, and she says, "I've got a bunch of stuff, like some pictures and things and some CDs, and do you want it?" And I said, "Yeah, I want it." So like, she gave me some posters, like a Dubrow poster when he played in his band Dubrow.
Yeah.
It was right before Quiet Riot. Excuse me for coughing. So she says, "Here, come look at the stuff." And what does she have? She's got the movies. I couldn't believe it. I almost started crying.
Wow.
I go, this is what I wanted and I've been looking for.
Wow.
Here it is. Now you've got it. So that was really cool to get that back after, it's been 11 years.
Certainly
cool.
didn't expect it, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's take it back. Where did you guys meet the guys in the band? Like, who did you meet Kevin first, or who in the band did you guys meet first? Let's ask Ron first, and I'm obviously I'm going to ask him. So,
I had just graduated high school. My brother was a grade younger than me, so this is September 1972. I started going to Valley College, which is across the street from the high school I went to, Grant High, and actually Quiet Riot played at Valley College, which is a little famous thing, or part of the whole story of them. But my brother comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, I know this guy, Kevin, I met, and he really likes humble pie, and I know you do, so maybe you guys want to meet." So I said, "Okay." So I call Kevin. He gives me his number. I call him up. He goes, "Yeah, come on over, bring your stuff." I go over to Kevin's house. He's got his wall is just plastered with pictures and cuttings and clippings from art magazines and newspapers, rock and roll all the way. This tiny little room, it's got a drum set in it, and he's got 2 single beds. Him and his brother are living together in this little room. Kevin terrorized the shit out of his brother, who I don't know if you know that he's pretty famous now. Dr. Terry Dubrow. He's on those Botched, and he had a show called The Swan or Black Swan, about plastic surgery. He's a plastic surgeon. He's pretty famous. So anyways, I look at his pictures and all this stuff he had, and I just went, my jaw dropped. It was like his pictures were so good and mine were so bad. I was like, why am I here? Anyways, he was cool about it. He goes, no, they're good. Look, So we traded some pictures, and then I thought, okay, that's the end of that. And I go home, and like a few days later, he calls me, "Hey, what are you doing? You want to hang out?" And from then on, we were kind of best friends, or we were best friends, except for one summer. Should I keep going?
Yeah, please do. Man. This is something I want to hear.
My brother, I don't know if anybody knows this. My brother, his name is Stan Lee. He's in a band called the Dickies, a punk band. They've been around for like 40 years now. Well, the reason they even are a band is because Kevin was convinced my brother to play guitar. My brother was like 17, 18, or 19, and I think he was 17. And Kevin tells him, "You should play guitar." Eric Clapton didn't start playing guitar until he was 19, which is obviously not true. My brother plays guitar.
That is not true.
Starts playing guitar and him and Kevin are best friends. This one summer I went to Hawaii. It's 1974. I come back. They're like thick as thieves. Kevin said, "I'm hanging out with your brother now. We're going to the rock clubs, because he's trying to groom my brother into being his guitar player." This is, before he met Randy. This is still like talking 1974. He met Randy in 75. Well, so they're best buddies until Kevin decides to hit on my brother's girlfriend, and that was the end of them being friends.
Yeah.
And so now Kevin and I are best friends again, and he decides. Anyway, so Randy gets a hold of him, and that was like May or March of 1975, and like a week later, I met Randy through Kevin. So, did I go off on a tangent? Any questions?
That's great. No, that's great. So, Kim, I'm going to put you in the spotlight now. So, where did you meet the guys?
Well, I was jamming with a couple of guys in Burbank, and they were friends with Kelly Garney. And Kelly Garney was hanging out and jamming with us as well. And then one day Kelly said that he and his guitar player Randy were hiring a singer, and they wanted to audition. They either wanted to audition him or showcase him, but I'm not sure which. Right. And so they asked if they could borrow our PA system, and we took the PA system over to Randy's house, and I met Randy there, and immediately our senses of humor were equally warped, and we just started talking shit back and forth the first time we met, and I just thought he was really cool. And then after that, when I was already hanging out with Kelly, then Kelly and Randy and I started hanging out together, and I assume they hired the singer since it was Kevin. And I met Kevin shortly after that when they moved into Dennis Wagaman's studio and started rehearsing.
Oh, so you met Randy around the time I met him?
Yeah, I
never knew.
Yeah, I just met him when they were gonna, I think, audition or showcase. I'm not sure which. Kevin at Randy's mom's house.
Well, the story goes they really didn't like the way Kevin sang, and Randy told him, "Well, try and sing this way instead," and then it worked. So then they became a band.
Yeah, Kelly never liked him for anything.
Kelly didn't like him either.
But well, I mean, it's really funny how they grew. I think one of the dynamics of the band was that Randy just wanted to play guitar, and Tommy, you mentioned something about Randy performing. You got to remember, Randy didn't want to become a guitar player in a band because he saw a great guitar player on stage. He saw Alice Cooper, and wanted to entertain, and he just thought entertaining was so great. And and I think, but Randy just didn't kind of know how to go about it. He was this great guitar player and he loved to entertain, but he didn't know anything about it. And Kevin was not just, Kevin studied the music industry. He was determined. You knew Kevin was going to make it just because he was so determined, and he just, always knew about it. And I think he and Randy, their two talents, so to speak, just meshed.
Yeah, like one was obviously Randy was ridiculously talented. I mean, going back to the classical music stuff, but and Kevin was talented, but it seemed like Kevin knew how to perform. He knew how to grab the crowd,
And I remember Kevin and Ron, he probably told you the same thing. He used to always say that to be a great band, you had to have an anthem. You needed an anthem to set you apart from everybody else. And when he wrote, Mental Health, he got his anthem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was absolutely a huge anthem for that. I mean, that was, I was in Five Towns College when that hit, and it was like, it changed everything. It was almost it was almost like in the 90s when Nirvana. I mean, it was that big of a change in everything. It was like, wow, Americans can, you can have an American band that is, huge. That's not Van Halen. Obviously, Van Halen was, it was different. Where, I would say Quiet Riot were definitely more towards the metal side, whereas Van Halen was the rock and was more of the rock and roll side at that time. But it was just
you could sing along with Mental Health. I mean, as soon as it came on the radio, you were singing along.
Yeah. Oh, I played that song when that first came out in the band that I was in with Chris Santos, and we opened up with that, and the girls lost their shit.
Right.
Just that, that was it. It was not Iron Maiden. It wasn't fist in the air. It was girls tear their clothes off. It was insane.
I was playing Rock Band, and I was trying to beat my high score on Mental Health. Okay, so that was like on I don't know what night it was, the first Thursday or Friday night. And the next day, I get a call from Jody, Randy's girlfriend, and she used to be Kevin's girlfriend. And I knew from the tone of her voice that something happened to Kevin. And when I got a hold of her, she told me that Kevin had died. And I thought it was so weird that I was playing that the night before, probably when he died. It's just too weird.
Right.
Yeah, there are no coincidences. Sometimes things, line up the way they do, which is really. I can go off on this, but if you pay attention to signs, you'll see a lot of shit.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
Kim will tell you that.
Yeah. So when did you two meet? How long? You guys have known each other for a long ass time. You guys met around the same time, right? I mean, you met the band around the same time. So
I met because you became Kevin's roommate, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure we met before that.
Did you go to the Halloween show? Were you hanging out at Dennis's?
Yes.
Okay, well then we met before that, I guess.
I'm pretty sure we met over at Dennis Wagaman's house.
Yeah, well, Kevin got in a big fight with his stepfather, and he had to move out. So that's why he went. That's why he found that apartment. Did he call you ahead of time and say, "Hey, I need a place to live. Do you want to move in with me?" Or were you living there first?
No, he called me. He and I moved in there together.
Oh, so he found the place. You had already discussed moving in together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Why'd you move out?
Huh?
Why did you move out?
Everything in the back of my pickup truck.
No, why?
Oh, I don't know. I think I was tired of living where I was.
No, why did you leave living with Kevin?
Well, at first, I think Rudy was going to move in.
Okay, but you did, and then you left.
Yeah, I left. Yeah, I went and moved somewhere else.
But why? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
You don't remember.
I have a feeling that Kim doesn't remember a lot of those times from the stories I've got.
I can tell you why I had to move out.
Yeah, why did you have to move out?
Why did you have to move out?
Well, first of all, I had to move in.
Okay. So when did you move
in with me? He goes, move in with me. I need a roommate. We'll have the most fun ever. You'll get laid. I go, okay.
That's good enough.
And I did. So I'm living with him for a few years, and he had this one girlfriend that introduced me to her girlfriend, and I went bonkers for this girl. I mean, she was like a total, we'd call her like, any girl that had blonde hair and blue eyes was a Ronnie girl. So I met this girl, but he knew she was bad for me because she was like just bad news. And she broke my heart, but that's after the fact. So to stay friends with Kevin, I had to move out, and I moved in with her, and then she left a month later. But that's it. Anyway, otherwise we would have been enemies because he just hated her, and he would have just grinded me about it all the time, and I would have got pissed. Once I moved out, we probably even became better friends. And then when he made all the money with mental health, he bought a house in Hancock Park and said, "You're moving in with me, rent free, et cetera, all you've done for me. You want to move in with me?" And I go, "Fuck yeah."
That's great.
I remember the Hancock House Park. Yeah. But Ronnie and I also did, Ronnie was doing the lights at the Starwood for Quiet Riot, and I do the spotlight when I could make it there. We had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, you knew what was going on. I didn't have to tell you anything.
I knew the solos so well that I knew where the spotlight was supposed to be.
Those 10 years are the best years of my life, 75 to 85.
Oh.
Yeah. What was it like playing?
I challenge a lot of people to have as much fun as we had.
I know.
Right. Yeah, Lenny, you had a question, right?
Yeah, I wanted to know what the scene was like at the Starwood when the band was playing there. Were they already established as like appearing tonight, like a headliner, or they would mix with other bands, or like what was the scene like at the time that they were on it when they were playing the Starwood?
You or me, Kim?
Go ahead, Ron.
Well, they had this manager, Dennis Wagaman, and he got them the first show on a Sunday night. They were third on the bill at the Starwood. And there's a rumor, I don't know if it's true, that he paid like somebody there $50 to get him on the bill. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe, did you say that, Kim, once in the movie, I think?
No.
Somebody said that. I don't know if that's true or not. And I guess they were good enough, and they, just kept getting shows during the week. They'd open up for people. Eventually, they had a big enough following that they started playing the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 2 shows a night. Set. So they ended up being kind of almost a house band there.
Wow. The Starwood, the music business or the local scene got different after those years. But at that time, especially at the Starwood, they were the people that ran it. David Knight, especially, was the guy that hired the talent.
David Forrest, you mean?
David? What's that? David
Forrest?
Yeah, David Forrest. Yeah. They encouraged bands to come and play there, and they would help a band out that was looking to get some time. And during those years, you could go to the Starwood any night and just see incredible bands. I mean, some great musicians came out of just the local bands, but he really encouraged that. I know when the band I was in, Wink, we got on a bill there because another band called Smile just went to David and said, hey, we got some friends that want to play. Can you put them on the bill? They can be number 3. If they get a crowd, I'll put them on some other night, you know. But bands could come and go there, and they really encouraged that whole scene. There was, and great musicians came out of that whole scene. God, trying to think of some. There was a band called Wolfgang that had, Wolfgang was a great band. And they had Randy Rand was the bass player in that, and he went on to form Autograph.
Yeah.
Wow. Greg Leon had a band called Sweet 19, and Greg was the one that when Randy left to go with Ozzy, Greg was the one that was recommended to replace him, and the drummer in his band was Tommy Lee. There was
wow.
Just, Legs Diamond. He did their showcase there. Y&T played there all the time. There was just musicians, but it was a great scene where if you were in a band and once they knew you, then you went upstairs to the Top 100 Club. And the top one, the Starwood had a disco over here, and then it had a room where you could get something to eat or play pinball, and then it had the music hall. And the music hall had a balcony on top called the Top 100 Club. And once you played there or you knew somebody in the bands and they knew you just go to the Top 100 Club. And the backstage area was back behind that. And, you go there all the time just to see other bands. And the bands talked to each other and they intermingled. And guys switched bands. But it was just a scene that really encouraged musicians to get out there and play, and if you were a local band and you knew somebody could introduce you, you'd get on the bill there. It was just really a great scene.
Wow. So there's like a lot of rivalry at the time?
Show them.
Smile. God.
Yeah. So were the bands like rivals, or was it more of a friendly, like, hey, was it a friendly thing or more rivalry type thing?
Those things that Roddy showed have got like the band Snow had Carlos Cavazo in it. That was the band that he was in. There was rivalry, but there was also a lot of exchange of, like guitar players would come back and ask Randy, how did you do that? Or stuff like that. And Randy would, show them. And Randy would go see somebody he liked, and he'd go back and talk to them. I mean, there was a lot of friendly interplay, a lot of rivalry between the bands, but the musicians were friendly.
Right.
Well, that's how Kevin got Frankie and Carlos from them beating other bands playing the local scene.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Awesome. Wow.
So now,
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No,
was each club like Gazzari's and the Whiskey? Were they similar, or did they all have like their own, way of doing things as opposed to the Starwood?
I think in the beginning it was like if you played the Starwood, you didn't play the Whiskey, and you didn't play Gazzari's. Quiet Riot never played Gazzari's. So after a few years, it became you could play both. And I believe the Starwood went out of business, and then the Whiskey was still doing things.
Yeah.
Because then Quiet Riot started. They used to be a Starwood band, and then they became a Whiskey band.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So the Starwood was owned by a coke dealer, and he got arrested, and the place got shut down. It's too bad somebody couldn't step in and take it over, because it was maybe the best rock club that I've ever been to.
Yeah. It's funny. Back then, the Starwood Quiet Riot was like the featured band or the main band, and the Whiskey at the time had Van Halen.
Right. So everybody had like their own marquee band, like their own homegrown, so to speak.
Right.
It's amazing. Before Van Halen got signed, right when they got signed, for $1.25, you could have seen Van Halen and Quiet Riot on the same bill at Glendale College.
Wow. Oh God.
With Randy and Eddie, right? Oh wow.
My God.
Yeah. Tommy, would have we killed ourselves?
Yeah, just would have just.
There's video of that show in the movie.
Suicide.
There's video Quiet Riot on stage in the movie. I believe that night Randy split his pants.
Well, yeah, that was definitely the time of wearing those tight pants, right?
Randy was sick as a dog that day too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he spent like the whole time before they went on in my car around the corner of this little coffee shop drinking tea. He was pretty sickly all the time anyway, but I when he was sitting in the car, I didn't think there was any way he was going to go on stage. There was no way, and he just kept saying, "There's no way I'm not going on. I'm playing tonight. I'm going out there.
Right.
There's no way he's going to let Eddie Van Halen take the whole show.
The shot in the movie of that from that show. If anybody watches the movie, Kevin's wearing a yellow outfit, so you can't miss that. And Randy starts coming out rocking right away. There's a great shot that I have of that. So from that night, so he's kind of like the Michael Jordan of guitar players. Wow. The story about Jordan playing with the flu in the finals.
Yeah, exactly. Just bringing it.
They were inspired that night, no doubt about it. And that show almost didn't happen because for like the 6 months before, after both bands had agreed to do it, there was the two management companies refused to be the second act. Both of them wanted to be the headliner, and it was a friend of mine that was putting on the show, and he kept saying, "Somebody's got to give. Somebody's got to, They couldn't put out any promotional material. They couldn't put anything out because they didn't know whose name to put on top. And finally, Van Halen got signed just before that show. And after that, even Kevin just said, well, okay, they got signed. They're the headliners. Nothing we can do. And then he just said, but we're going to go on stage and blow them off, So it was a great show. That night was a great show.
Yeah, can you describe how, like, obviously Quiet Riot were, they were fired up. How was the relationship between both bands at that particular show?
I doubt that. I don't think they even spoke to each other. Seriously. And Quiet Riot partied during their whole show. There's some great pictures of all the Quiet Riot and their manager in drag downstairs. They had to dress in the costume room for Glendale College's theater department. And so they started pulling stuff out, dresses off the racks, and they were taking pictures and video it. And Ronnie, didn't you videotape that, or did you see
I'm looking for a picture in the book right now from it.
And Van Halen had a different room, because I went in and asked Van Halen who they got signed with. And they told me, and I said, well, do you want me to announce you? I was the MC for it. I said, do you want me to announce you as recording artist? And they were like, yeah, for sure,
Wow.
And I don't think the two bands even spoke to each other that entire day.
I didn't know you were unbelievable.
There it is.
Oh, hang on. Let me spotlight the pic there, Ron. Hang on. There we go. Okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Wow.
Yeah, I gotta say that, Ron, the photos in this book they just blew me away. I put up a few pics that you sent over, but man, the inside pictures that you had, they're just amazing.
Thank you.
Just absolutely amazing. Like, wow, I one of my favorites, obviously, because Kim's so close to me. That picture of Kim in the studio with the guys is just crazy good.
That's in the book, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It sure is. That's a great pick, man.
And Kim's in the movie.
Yeah.
He was kind enough to be interviewed.
That was fun. Or if it had been anybody else but Ron, I wouldn't have done it.
No. I remember that, Kim, you didn't like to talk too much about Randy at the time. I mean, I know it was still pretty fresh, so you didn't. Yeah. You were kind of quiet about it a lot,
Yeah, I just preferred to stay out of the whole deal.
Yeah, I know, and it was a treat when you would you tell a little story or something. So thanks for those times. It was great.
Ron isn't in that many pictures because he's the one taking all the pictures.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then I stopped taking pictures to do lights, so there's a lot of shows I missed photographing because I was doing lights. I don't have any pictures I ever took of the Dubrow band except in a studio because I was always doing lights for Kevin after Randy left.
There's one picture of you with all of us at a party, and you don't remember being there.
Me?
Yeah, that picture of the night that the SWAT team descended on our party.
I think you gave me that picture. It might be on my desk. Well,
I have been throwing some of the pictures that you guys have sent over to me. I've been putting them up.
Is this the picture?
Yep, that's the one.
That's the one. Yeah, I will. I'll put it up on the screen.
It's not in the book.
No.
There's me and Kim. See.
Look at you guys.
Yeah. Let me
anyway,
see if I have it in the pics that you.
You want me to hold it up better?
I think Joey's got the picture on his.
Yeah,
Joey's going to bring it up.
Yeah, I'm going to bring it up in a second. I actually cropped it already. There we go. All right. Yeah.
Oh, did you give him that picture? Did you get one of it?
I sent it to him via voice or Facebook.
Yeah.
We have a SWAT team descend on us that night. I can't figure out how you can't remember that unless you took off before. I guess I should tell the story of that.
Why would the SWAT? Why would
SWAT team?
LA SWAT?
It was a party at Kelly Garney's house, and I don't remember what it was. Randy and Kelly and I. Kelly obviously had a large gun collection, and we decided to go outside in a side yard and shoot off some pistols in the air, which is stupid and foolish, but we did. And we probably spent 15 minutes out there just shooting off guns, and went back in the house, and the party continued. And I was in the kitchen where the bar was, and I thought I heard voices outside. I thought I heard somebody calling Kelly's voice. So I went in and told Kelly, I said, hey, somebody's outside yelling for you. And he said, well, let's go see who it is. And he and Drew and I went outside, and it was like a little courtyard behind somebody else's house next to the garage. But we get out in the middle of the courtyard, and the SWAT team stands up on the roofs of the garage and the house in front of us, and then about 3 people running in between, yelling, get down, get down, get down. And we just like hit the ground. And, we thought, oh, this is over, And they talked to us, and they turned out to be the nicest cops I'd ever met. They, when they realized that it wasn't a gang war going on, and it was just a bunch of drunk rockers shooting off guns, they basically just said, okay, well, stop doing that. Don't do it anymore. Left us alone.
That's fantastic.
Just smack you in the head going, knock it off.
Yeah. Amazing. Kim, you sent a picture. You have a picture that has your watermark on it with Randy with an acoustic. I put that up on the screen. That's a nice one.
Yeah, Randy, that was a little silver tone guitar that I had.
Yeah.
Look at that.
I didn't know how to play it, but when Randy would always come over, the first thing he did was grab that guitar and sit down, and he strummed it the whole night. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. And I remember you saying that. And I remember you told me that as I was sitting there holding that guitar.
Oh man.
Yeah. And trying not to have a complete panic attack as he's telling me I'm playing the strings that Randy Rhoads played. Okay. So I was like, being the good roommate, I said, you know what? This guitar needs new strings. Guess what I have with me? You're not going to really be able to see it, but I still have those strings. I saved them.
You still have the guitar, Kim?
No, I don't know what happened to the guitar.
Yeah. I saved those strings because, obviously, it means a lot because they're obviously Randy played them and they were from you, so it was a big deal to me. Stupid shit that I save, That's why this is why the back of me looks like this. Look at all this equipment sitting here. On top of that, I got stupid fucking strings.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. That's if they ever get that cloning shit down, man, I got him. I got another little baby coming.
The DNA all over these fuckers.
Yeah, I don't want to know what other DNA's on there either.
I gotta tell you, my best memories of Randy are from that house in Burbank. It was, no matter, this is before the days of cell phones and beepers and stuff. So it was just kind of assumed if you went out at night, usually after the Starwood, we would go to the Rainbow and hang out in the parking lot and see if there was any parties going on. And if there was no parties going on, we'd all go back to my house. And it was just a little studio apartment, but I don't know, some of the greatest parties of my life were held in that little place.
Wow.
But it's just, people would show up,
Right.
and but Randy and I spent many nights, just the two of us, maybe Randy and Jody and I, just hanging out in that house. And good friends. Sometimes there was a comfort level where you could just sit there for hours and not say a word. It's just really nice. And my best memories are from that house.
Wow. Yeah, when you have that level of comfort and you don't need to talk, and it's just just chilling, just hanging, that's the best.
I should have been smart and taken bass lessons from Randy, but
well, yeah. Well, you had that bass that is quite famous because so many of the forums and everything that the Randy follows. I mean, Randy became an absolute legend. I mean, he was a fantastic guitar player, but unfortunately, death makes you more of a legend. And the amount of people that are still really, just like they put him up on a pedestal, and he was a fantastic guitar player. So many people still follow.
But it was the Blizzard of Oz record. These records were just iconic,
groundbreaking
right?
for what they were.
Yeah, they were groundbreaking. To come in. I mean, that Randy made the most coveted spot in rock and roll, right? He created that. He created that spot with Ozzy, which everybody has tried. Anybody who was anybody wanted that spot after that, right? I mean, even having to follow Randy and Randy's footsteps, everybody wanted that because they knew that it was an iconic spot to be in. So, amazing for him to go and to build that and have it go from there. But again, those two Ozzy records are just, they're biblical to most guitar players.
Yeah. Now, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they record those albums back to back?
Yeah.
I think there was a little bit of time between that they did the first and the second one.
Yeah.
Because the first
they
one
went out and did some dates and came back and recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with one of the things that when you look back over the years, with both Randy and with Kevin too, when they were in Quiet Riot together, it was a great live band, but the recordings just sucked. I mean, the records just didn't capture the live performance. And I think this shows the importance of somebody, I know Kevin became a great singer, and Ron can probably speak to that more than knows what I do. Somebody worked with him, and like Randy was a great guitar player, but I'm pretty sure that it was Bob Daisley that sat down with him and taught him how to write songs, how to turn a riff into a song. And it just shows the importance of, taking somebody who has a lot of talent and focusing that talent. Because I know when Randy came back for the Christmas party at his house after he'd recorded the album, and it was a Christmas party at his mom's house. And now I've been listening to Randy play guitar for years, and I thought he was great, but he sat down and played just the guitar tracks on a little reel-to-reel that he had in his bedroom. And my jaw just dropped open. I was just like, what the hell, And he was like, do you think it's good? Do you think it's okay? And I'm like, Jesus, this is incredible. It was just, unbelievable. And Kevin as well. Kevin just seemed to learn how to sing when he went from early Quiet Riot to the Quiet Riot, the mental health Quiet Riot.
Right.
He learned to sing during Dubrow.
Dubrow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't have to really. He didn't have to compete with Randy.
Right. He was then in charge, right? I mean, it was his band.
He was always in charge, but still, it was like he didn't have to compete with the whole Randy thing, and he could do things the way he wanted. But I would have to say that Kevin probably held Quiet Riot back a little because Kevin was more into poppy stuff, and Randy was wanting to do a little heavier stuff. But Kevin would seem to always win the fight because he had just a bigger, huger personality and force of will that Randy just kind of went along, with what Kevin wanted.
Okay.
Right. Now, during the song "Come On, Feel the Noise," which was originally recorded by Slade, what was the story that Kevin was against doing that song because everybody said it would be great for you to do because you kind of sound like the guy? Was there a story about something like that?
The producer that signed him, Spencer Proffer, he thought Kevin had some Naughty Holder in him, and he thought that would be a perfect song for them to do. And they didn't want to do it. So, of course, he insisted, and so Frankie recorded the drum track, and Kevin was trying to get him to fuck it up. He was watching him through the glass at the studio. Kevin kept doing things to try to get Frankie to mess up. And Frankie played it perfectly. What'd you do that for? He goes, I can't not play right. So the rest is history. They did do the song, and we know what happened from there.
Number one smash for all over the place.
Yeah.
The record was number one. I think that single went to number 5.
Wow.
But the album became number 1 for a week in November.
Right. And then you had the whole MTV thing at the time right behind it. So
it
just blew up globally.
Yeah, that was huge. Just because it got to 5, that's as good as 1, and for a heavy metal song,
Yeah, that's 1. Any top 10, fuck.
I mean, I think their version is like a better version than Slade's. But.
It is.
Yeah, but at the same time, it also kind of rejuvenated Slade's career.
Yeah,
because then they started touring all of a sudden, and doing those European festivals, just riding on the fact that this song was a hit by another band.
Yeah, I think
Quiet made a lot of money off it too.
Yeah, Quiet Riot made those guys really big.
Yeah,
yeah.
I saw Slade open for Humble Pie at the Santa Monica Civic.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez! Wow,
that's crazy.
I should have had some. If I knew what the subject was going to be, because I have in a scrapbook some pictures of that. But whatever.
We'll go all over the place. Just pull shit out. Just like, hey, want to talk about this?
Yeah.
Well, while you talk, I'll get my scrapbook.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, just even the sound of mental health was head and shoulders above the the original Quiet Riot records, like you said. It's not fighting the producer. It's actually allowing them to do their job that really helps. When you got a big ego and you're in there, you're like, no, I don't want to do that, and then you realize that you were wrong.
Right.
Like that album just had a sound to it, and the metal was the American metal, as I say, where it was a little bit more melodic, a little bit more poppy, was just starting to turn heads, and then they were one of those bands, and then bam, that album just punched it, and it's like they arrived. All of a sudden, it's like Quiet Riot. What a cool band.
Yeah. So let me
Kevin
ask you.
at one point, Kevin wanted, just to digress, I guess. Kevin wanted to be a photographer. So I think I mentioned that earlier. So here's a picture he took of Steve Marriott.
Yeah, I'm gonna read.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
and A&M Records bought it from him for their little in-house publication.
Wow.
Steve Marriott was a monster too.
That was his biggest influence. Kevin's biggest influence was Steve Marriott.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, he kind of has that rasp in his voice that Steve Marriott had.
He copped some things like when the ad-libbing stuff. He took a lot of that, and Quiet Riot with Randy. They did two Small Faces songs, which Steve Marriott was in, Tin Soldier and Afterglow.
Cool.
Wow.
Wow. So let me ask you guys this. I mean, there's a, Randy looked a lot like Mick Ronson. Was he like? Was that?
What was up with that, man?
Yeah, man. I mean, there are times I look at pictures of Mick Ronson and say, "Well, I don't remember Randy." No, that's not Randy. That was crazy. Was Mick an influence on Randy?
Yeah, I'm a huge Mick Ronson fan.
Yeah. Let me bring you.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
these are my scrapbooks from like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And enjoyed it. That was more what I was talking about before about Kevin. Just the drive Kevin had when they first got together. Randy looked like he belonged in Black Oak, Arkansas. I mean, it was just like
Jim Dandy.
He loved Jim Dandy. They went and saw. He loved Jim Dandy, but he just had the long, straight blonde hair. Yeah. And Kevin was like, "No, you got to cut your hair like this." And at the time, like Ron said, Jody was his girlfriend. So he says, "My girlfriend will cut your hair. We'll make outfits for you." The whole thing was all Kevin. It was like, This is what we got to look like. This is what we got to sound like. This is what we got to, our whole appearance. So
the whole polka dot thing and everything.
Yeah,
was
when did the polka dot stuff start?
Yeah,
like with the bow tie and the guitar.
He liked polka dots, and somehow that ended up being his outfit.
Started with the vest. Didn't it started with the outfit? They made a polka dot outfit for him.
Yeah. Jody made it up, sure.
Really?
Wow. So that was it. That's what started that whole thing, the bow ties and the polka dots.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then people would show up at the shows in the clubs wearing little polka dot bow ties.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now that's crazy. I mean, you play in a club and you have that kind of following. That
doesn't
yeah.
Yeah. I try. Wow. I can't get people to show up in leather pants and look stupid like me. So nobody's that fucking stupid.
That's funny. A lot of people come and they're dicks. I guess I'm a big influence on people.
Man.
But so
Ron's out there getting his collection together.
Yeah.
Trying to find stuff.
This is gold stuff. I love this stuff, man.
Kim, I want to ask you. For me, this was like I had read this, and I don't know if it's true or not, but it's just something that I thought was really cool. The day that Randy got the Ozzy gig, there was a time where he said he needed a guitar, and he wanted somebody to make him this guitar, which would become the polka dotted Flying V, or the Jackson the shark fin.
Yeah.
Did he pass on anything to you that at the time that this is what he wanted? Because rumor has it, I think he went to some guitar maker's house. I can't remember the name, whether it was Carl
Sandoval.
Sandoval,
yeah.
Or if it was Grover Jackson. But he showed up either Thanksgiving night or Christmas night, and he had a drawing. And he said, "Can you make me something like this?" I mean, is that accurate? Was that true? Or?
But it's funny, when he was anything having to do with Randy's equipment, the advice he got was from Kevin. He would call Kevin and say, "What do you think of this? What do you think of that?" And then he would show it to me after it was done and say, "What do you think of this?" But Kevin was kind of his go-to guy when he was, talking about equipment or designing guitars and stuff like that. Kevin was the guy that he went to.
He sketched out that guitar on a napkin, didn't he?
Yeah, that's the story.
The Concord, right?
That's true, right?
That's the story.
It was a Christmas night or something, and he went over to one of the guitar guys' house.
Well, the Jackson, obviously, he went to Jackson, but the polka dot V went to Carl Sandoval.
Yeah.
Right. And Carl's still making those, man. He's still pumping.
He is still making those. I'm sure he's done well for himself by making those.
I invited him to watch the show. I don't know if he's on.
Yeah, and I don't. I'm going back and forth between. So when I'm turning to the side, I'm not ignoring you guys. I'm trying to see who's asking questions.
I had one of those remakes of his. I can't even hardly play guitar, but it played great.
Did it play great?
Yeah.
You know what
I ended up selling it.
Ron, I'll send you my address. Just send it to me, and I'll tell you how to play.
I already told you.
It's just such an iconic looking instrument.
absolutely.
I mean, when, younger growing up, you're like, whoa, what the fuck is that? And it was just so cool. I remember I was in wood shop in high school, and the guy said, what do you want to make? I said, I want to make a guitar. And it was the Concorde. And he looked at me like, this is going to be a cool project. Until we actually made it, and he took great pride in helping me. I would stay after school, just to work on this guitar.
That was the only time we could keep you in school.
The only time I was making a guitar, and then after that, we put it in this thing for it to cure, and somebody stole it.
Stole it?
So that should be my one that got away for a future episode.
Yeah, for a future episode, we'll talk about that.
Speaking of stolen guitars, I probably, at least in my book, you see the black SG that Randy played before he played the
absolutely.
ball.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin made him get rid of that because supposedly it kept going out of tune.
Okay.
So he sold it to my brother. And my brother, someone stole that guitar from him.
Oh.
Because it's got to be worth $1 million.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a retirement guitar. Absolutely.
Yeah, somebody's got it. And
somebody
maybe
has it.
They have, maybe they don't.
Yeah.
Amazing. In a short amount of years, Randy went from playing an SG that wouldn't stay in tune to designing his own guitars.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And I can't figure how that little fucking shit could play one of those 70s fucking Les Pauls.
Yeah, how the hell?
I had one of those. The thing
Look
was
at
so
pictures
fucking
of his
heavy. It was
arms.
13
He had
fucking
muscles.
pounds.
If you look at pictures of his arms, he's got muscles.
Yeah. Yeah, he was, definitely. But, well, you have to. With that guitar was,
Yeah,
I know mine was 13 pounds. Tommy, you still have yours.
I got a 13-pound. I got it upstairs. It's my living room guitar, so I'm not tempted to fucking play it out because it's so heavy that it's just it's agonizing.
Right. Kim,
I try
my blonde guitar. That was the one I had at the house. That was same year that Randy played. Those things are fucking tons.
When I think of Randy, I think of the Les Paul.
Yeah,
I mean
absolutely. Those things.
Yeah,
are
I mean
heavy.
single-handedly, a white mid-70s Les Paul is worth a fortune now, and it's simply because of Randy. It's not that they're good guitars. It's not that they're playable guitars. It's Randy, and that's it.
It just became so identifiable with them that it's almost like the Randy guitar.
Yeah, Gibson.
And you'll see it anytime any of the YouTubers and stuff, they pull out one, they'll go, I got this because of Randy, and they'll have like a 74, 75, log, because the thing is, again, 13 pounds.
Yeah.
This is not. This is a 58 reissue. It's kind of probably 9 pounds.
I got another one a few years ago. Remember, I had the white. I had the cream, the one that looked like it was the faded white, but obviously because of Randy. It was biggest influence ever. So, but more about you guys. Like, you did mention Bob Daisley making a huge contribution. So you saw the big difference between Randy when he was in Quiet Riot and helping Ozzy write. Now, obviously, it was Bob that helped quite a bit, and I don't think Bob gets enough credit in that.
No, I don't either. I know when I talked to Randy on the phone when he was over in England and they were recording, he was like a little kid in a candy store. I mean, it was just like, he was like, I can do anything I want. I can do it as long as I want. I can do as many takes as I want, and I know he was working with Daisley all the time, but he would play and he'd come up with riffs, and he could play a riff for Bob Daisley, and Bob Daisley would kind of, compact it and say, okay, let's put a song around this. And
right.
I think Bob Daisley was a huge influence. I mean, the talent was already there. And I think, to a certain degree, even though Randy was homesick, like 99% of the time, I think being over there, isolated, alone in the studio with Bob, who was a great influence and wrote a lot of songs, I think it is just, he was in a different world, and everything that he wanted to do was now just like coming out. I mean, he just, it just flowed.
Right.
And he was even complaining because they didn't have enough time to really record the albums. He was always too rushed or having to hurry to get songs out and stuff like that. I think one of his favorites was Mr. Crowley. He said we went and visited the castle, and I came home and put a riff together, and we wrote a song about it. And it's, he was having fun.
I didn't know that. That's a nice little tidbit.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So
wow.
Yeah, so he actually went there, and that's pretty cool. I think that's a good story.
Yeah. So did you guys notice a huge difference? Did Randy always sound like obviously, we've seen some older footage of Randy. Was he always Randy all the time? Or was it that extra stuff that maybe Bob was helping him out with? Did things change after being an Ozzy, do you think?
Well, I think for one thing, that's all he had to do. I mean, when he was here in LA, there was all the dynamics of the Quiet Riot band and trying to formulate this and formulate that and focus the band and he had his music students he was teaching every day and just a lot of distractions. And I think when he got over there, Bob was just basically sitting down saying, okay, let's write this song, or how do you want to play this, or do you want to do overdubs, or how do you want to do this? I think he just had a time to perfect what was already there. And he just able to spend time, and he, let's face it, he had a hell of a lot better equipment. He was playing through PV, on stage with Quiet Riot, and now he's got Marshall stacks, and he's in the studio, and everything he wanted to do. Because anytime he saw Randy in the studio, he was bitching about his tone. My tone's not right. I can't get this tone right. It's just not working. I can't keep, it's not what I want. And I think once he got in that scenario, he got what he wanted. He was able to do what, you don't like that tone. What do you want? Let's do another tone then,
Right.
I think it really focused the talent.
Right. And, and one thing, I was fortunate enough to have gone to see, I saw Randy on the first time on Blizzard of Oz. The live tone was monstrous. It was not what came out of the studio. That studio tone, a lot of people say, Randy was a great guitar player, but that tone he had in that album, that wasn't up to him, because I know what he sounded like live. And if you listen to the live album with him recorded on it, that's what Randy sounded like.
That's what he sounded like.
Yeah. I mean, and it was
Blazing.
different. Yeah. It's a different tone you get in the studio to cut through. It all depends on what the producer wants you to sound like. So that was a big difference. That again, I know his live sound was the one that I heard was incredible, and obviously
Amazing
the live album.
It's amazing he could overdub like 20 guitar tracks, but he could go on stage and still pull it off.
Yeah. Every
And
one of his solos was doubled. Now, I don't know how I couldn't do any of his solos once, much less doubling them. And I studied them.
It was like immediately when that first record came out, he already had a signature sound because he didn't sound like he didn't sound like Black Sabbath. He didn't sound like Quiet Riot. It was like this unique, this guy's whipping on the guitar, and it had such a unique tone that you fell in love with it immediately. He wasn't trying to be anybody.
Right.
Right.
That was just so cool. Now, Joey, where did you see him live?
Coliseum with Def Leppard.
I was at that show.
Yeah, I figured you were.
And,
I think we've talked about this. Probably in a drunken state, we've probably talked about this.
Yeah, and I remember that show. I mean, he kept popping strings.
Yeah.
But he's still amazing.
Yeah.
Just blew like he came and he dazzled you, and we were just like, holy shit, who the fuck's that guy?
Yeah. I still have the program. You remember they used to sell for concerts? Sell programs. I still have one. I still have the original program. And I have the ticket stub too, so just talk about the stupid shit that I saved,
No, that's gold now.
Yeah. So,
but I'm just fortunate that I was able to see him live, and it was just like unbelievable.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I did see Bernie. Not unfortunately, I mean it was an unfortunate reason. I saw Bernie Tormey because I had tickets to go see Randy.
Who's that now?
I saw Bernie when he filled in for Randy.
I feel bad for him because I guess when they got him after things had happened, and he just wasn't ready for it. I mean,
No.
he goes from being in the Ian Gillan band and playing small clubs in London to Madison Square Garden. Learn these songs, and it's just like, wow,
Absolutely.
Right, and at that point, Ozzy was the biggest guy in the world at that point. That right after those 2 records, he was king of the universe.
If it wasn't for Randy, I don't think that
there wouldn't
that wouldn't have done anything. I mean,
I don't think you would have heard of Ozzy really. I don't think, again, I think all the records are just there's some great stuff on the the records following that, but the formula was there. The formula was already built by Randy, and Bob, as far as this goes. So anybody else was just kind of just going through there. And again, I've talked about Brad Gillis coming in and doing some really, really wonderful playing and stuff. But again, he was just filling in for, the greatness Randy was.
Right.
So.
Are you asking for audience questions? I'm looking at the Facebook thing. It says text questions to.
Yeah, I have.
Any questions?
I haven't seen anything come up yet. I had a couple of people that were asking yesterday, believe it or not. We're taking questions, and I said, bring them up, and we'll. But I haven't seen anything come across yet. So, and I'm going to check YouTube also. But Ron, how about Kevin? Did you notice a huge difference in him after the when he went to the studio? Was it production magic, or was Kevin? I mean,
when he went to the studio, for Metal Health?
Yeah. Because you were there for the first album, right? The earlier albums.
Yeah. Well, they had crummy producers for both of those records.
Right.
Kevin wanted Roy Thomas Baker.
Right.
Wow.
Who wouldn't know?
Who the fuck wouldn't, right?
And he also wanted Ted Templeton.
Okay, well, yeah, that makes sense.
But he didn't get them. So he ended up with, God, I don't remember his name. And he wasn't very good, and they didn't have a lot of time. So that was the first record. The second record, I don't remember who the producer was, but I know that they got some free time at the record plant. So their record plant was like remodeling, so they got to go in they had to go in at off hours to get like really cheap time. So and actually they had a record deal. Their management got him a record deal with this company Buddha Records.
Yeah.
They did like some poppy bands, I think like some Kitty kind of Archies and things like that. You remember the Archies?
Yeah. Sugar.
Yeah. So I think that was Buddha, or if that wasn't Buddha, it was bands like that. So they got a record deal with Buddha, and then Buddha went bankrupt. So they got a deal in Japan, and they finished the record for a Japanese CBS Sony release. And I guess the first one did good enough that they got to do the second album. And then that was it for that. So then Randy leaves, and Kevin starts Dubrow, and he's still playing. He's not giving up.
Right.
So all the time he's playing with Dubrow, he obviously is just getting better and better at it. And learned to sing. There's a way difference in his voice between Quiet Riot and Quiet Riot Mental Health. He just learned to change his tone, and a little more of a screamer, but it's just so much better.
Right.
And obviously, that's when the record goes to number one, it must be better. So
yeah. Obviously.
But then, I mean, Kevin, his ego when that record went to number one was pretty up in the sky.
Yeah.
His favorite thing before Donald Trump came along, Kevin would always go, "Ronnie." I go, "What?" He go, "You're fired." Like his favorite thing to tell everybody, "You're fired. You're fired. You're fired." Maybe Trump came to a Quiet Riot show. But I mean, there's a lot of bad rap about Kevin in the magazines back then, and he was just kind of, I don't know if upset is the word, but it was like, wow, now anybody can get signed. It took me 10 years to become an overnight success, and now you can be anybody that's got tight pants on, and you're going to get a record deal. So that kind of irked him, and it irked him to his own demise, because he started making fun of these bands and knocking them, and this isn't a story that people don't know. So I'm not
right.
There's no secret here.
This is no secret.
He was getting a lot of bad press, and that probably helped the demise of Quiet Riot.
Now, well, speaking of that, so Carlos comes in. Now, how did he feel about filling in for Randy? Not filling in, but being a member of the band after Randy. I mean, because he's an incredible.
Carlos was a kind of a happy-go-lucky kind of guy, a little bit of a pothead. He didn't really care. Nothing really bothered him. And Kevin wanted him to play stuff like Randy, and Carlos would do it. But Carlos had his own style too.
He does have his own style.
I mean, I showed you this record before, Down to the Bone. The guitar playing on it and the bass playing is fantastic. I mean, it's like, I think it's their third best record. So after Mental Health and Condition Critical.
Right.
But Carlos and Chuck, they just play unbelievable on that record, I think.
I think so too.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
because again, you're saying that he just came in, just was calm, and just okay. I got the gig. I'll do what you want. Okay.
When did Rudy
I would do that.
enter the band?
Okay, well, Chuck Wright was the bass player, and Chuck was like in Dubrow, and then when Rudy quit Ozzy, Kevin said, "You want to play with me?" And he said yes. So Chuck was gone. Chuck had already recorded, I think, a couple albums on the Mental Health record.
Oh, okay.
Or a couple songs on the Mental Health record, but
So Rudy wasn't in Quiet Riot and then jumped to Ozzy like Randy did. He was
Randy got Rudy into Ozzy,
right.
And then after Randy died, Rudy didn't want to play with Ozzy anymore, so he finished whatever. I guess he finished the tour that they started with Randy.
Okay.
And then he quit and came back to LA, and I don't know exactly what happened, but he's back in Quiet Riot. Well, there's actually they were auditioning a bass. There's a bass player they auditioned named Ronnie Barron. There's pictures of him in my book of that audition, and he was going to be the bass player, but then Rudy showed up and Ronnie was gone.
Yeah.
Wow. Ronnie never even did a gig with him.
Oh, no kidding.
Wow.
Interesting.
So I've talked to Kim about this a little bit. Was Randy happy in Ozzy? Was it what he wanted to do, or was it like this is a good gig to have. This is what I'm going to do a gig, and then I'll do my own thing later.
I think in the beginning, I know when I talked to Randy on the phone in the beginning when he was over there, they were recording and having fun, recording the album. He was really happy. I mean, he was really happy in the studio. He was really happy with the whole situation. The first time they went on the road and played, he saw the difference between Ozzy at home and Ozzy on the road. And I know that bothered him. And at first Randy got, he got into the whole rock star thing. I mean, it was like, it's inevitable. He's, 20 something years old and suddenly they're filling stadiums and he's a rock star. And at first I think he kind of went with that, but it got old really, really fast. Randy gets homesick more than anybody I ever knew in my life. I mean, he was constantly calling at all hours of the night saying, what's so-and-so doing? How's everything there? He just wanted to be connected to home. And I think that shortly before his death, he was done with the whole, I don't want to play big stadiums. I don't want to be, tour with this band anymore. And it wasn't just Ozzy. I mean, I just don't think he liked the whole scene,
Right.
Being on the road, 300 days a year and going from hotel that he's like, no. And the last time I talked to him, he said, I'm going to stop doing this. He had to do one more album. And then he was kind of up in the air. He talked to a guy that used to be a singer in my band, Steve Gahagan. The last day I saw Randy, Steve was over at the house. The two of them were talking about putting a project together. So it's really funny. I thought about this later. As much as people talk about Randy's growth as a guitar player, his growth as a person was even bigger. I mean, the last time I saw him, it was like, I felt like he was the older guy and I was the kid. You know, he just knew what he was going to do. He knew who he was going to do it with. The plan was there. He was going to follow his plan, and he was really determined. You know, and it really amazed me. I was like, I couldn't believe it. But I think he was done. Now, and having said that, I don't think Randy would ever stop performing because he still had that Alice Cooper entertainer in him. He loved to get on stage and entertain, but I think he liked being in clubs more than he did the big stadiums. I mean, he liked it when the audience was right there in front of him, you know, like when he was in Quiet Riot. I think he was happier doing that. I think he would have toured again. I think he would have played live with somebody. He would have been in a band, but I also think he would have spent a lot of time studying music because Randy always knew how good he was. He didn't think it was a big deal, but he knew how good he was. But I think somewhere in there, he just crossed a line where he says, like, I just love playing the guitar so much, I need to play it all the time.
Right. Wow.
Especially classical.
Nothing to do with what Kim just said, but it was wasn't one night. It was after one of the shows, I think the sports arena. What they played, the sports arena in Long Beach when they played LA? I think whichever one was first. Was that the sports arena?
I think it was, yeah.
Okay, so I'm backstage and I say, you know, all these people want my pictures of you now. Do you care if I, you know, sell them to magazines? And he says, you can do whatever you want with them. I could care less. They're yours. Go at it. So that was cool because if he said don't put them out, I would have probably not done it.
Not done it, right. Well, so
saw Randy play live with Ozzy.
What?
I never saw Randy play live with Ozzy.
Why not?
He told me not to come to the shows.
What?
Don't.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Why?
You know, I got pissed off about it. The New Year's Eve show, I got pissed off. I was like, Randy, I want to go. I want to be backstage. I want to hang out. I want to have a good time. And he's like, just be my friend. Just be my friend. Don't have anything to do with all this madness. He said, please.
Wow. That's crazy.
Okay.
Wow.
Huh.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, we're all sitting here like quiet.
You shouldn't have listened to him.
Yeah, this is gold stuff. I'm thinking like I don't want to leave dead air, but
while we're jaw dropping.
Yeah, while we're sitting here, I'm gonna mention redmatchproductions.com. That's where you get the book. Please get it from there. Have Ron sign it. Ron will run it over to Kim, and Kim will sign it too. I'm gonna make everybody.
Exactly. Hey, you know what? Ship it to one of us. We'll sign it too. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't give a shit. All right. Yeah, we're back. Okay.
All right. Well, as long as there's dead air, one time.
Yes.
Randy, the Quiet Riot roadie, his name was Harold. He had this fastback Mustang, and we were looking for some party up in the hills. It was me, Kevin, Randy. I believe it was Jody also, maybe Kelly. And Harold makes this turn, and the car flips over.
Okay.
We all crawl out, and we just say, fuck you, Harold, and we left. We walked down the road to a payphone and called someone to pick us up.
Well, that sounds like a lot like this show.
Yeah, it's pretty much a car crash at all times.
It sounds like the show.
Yeah. Harold's a really nice guy. You know, I'm friends with him. He lives in Seattle, and I think I heard that after Randy died, he said, "I'm never picking the guitar up again."
Yeah, I could understand that.
But Randy used to use some of Harold's guitars for shows. People see pictures of Randy not playing the Les Paul or the Polka Dot V, and they go, "What's that guitar? What's that guitar?" Most of them were from Harold.
Right.
Wow. Oh, that's pretty neat.
So Ron, you did the cover for one of the Quiet Riot albums too. Was it the?
Well, I did the photos on the back cover, the live pictures on the back of Quiet Riot 1, and then I did the front back cover of Quiet Riot 2.
Quiet Riot 2. Okay, that's what I thought. Very cool. Very cool. And those pictures are all in the book too, so don't forget to
get the book. I don't know where I come up with that. It was this crazy idea of just juxtaposition between a dressing room. Like a lot of the gigs when you're in an arena band, you're doing it in dressing rooms of Sports
teams, right?
yeah. Sports team, yeah. So
yeah, we know
that I tried to juxtapose that with the band and the guitar, the band and the football players, and also the size difference of them.
Right.
So I mean, and it was supposed to be called like Second and 10 because the album had 10 songs.
Okay.
Album. So Second and 10, second and 10 football and their second album with 10 songs. They didn't understand it in Japan because they don't play football there, so they just called it Quiet Riot too.
So there goes all that great idea, right?
Makes that cover make even less sense.
Wow.
But I got to do a cover. I was thrilled.
Yeah, and it's no, obviously the pictures are great. We saw you did the filming. There was an outdoor for Quiet Riot too. Was that a park or something?
What are you talking about?
There was it was a live show. It was a live show, I think, right?
They played a lot. They played live at Valley College. I shot them there.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
There's another outdoor show. It was this chili festival out in Rosamond, California, and I've got movies of that too. That's in the film.
Chili festival.
The chili festival.
The chili cook-off.
Yeah. Quiet Riot with two of the biggest stars in rock and roll in the '80s playing a chili festival. Isn't that fucking? That's great. That is great. Right? That is some good fucking shit, man. That's good.
It was fun.
I bet.
All that stuff was fun. It was just didn't know what we were doing. Playing it by ear.
County fairs and just doing the gig.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So, let's get somber for a second. You guys hear about Randy and what happened. What was your reaction? I mean, obviously you guys.
Kevin called me and I just couldn't believe it. I go, "What are you talking about? I didn't hear anything on the radio. Usually you hear about a plane. Like I'm thinking it's a big plane." And he goes, "No, it was a small plane." And he didn't know much at the time. He goes, "It was a small single plane, and it crashed and he died." So I was shocked. Then I started turning the radio on and they're playing, Randy Ozzy songs. So that confirmed it.
Right. Yeah,
what about you?
Terrible.
I was working for an attorney service at the time, and it was a big plot to get me not to know. They paged my supervisor, and they told her that my girlfriend had called, Tamara, who became my wife. She said, "Get Kim home, but don't let him listen to the radio on the way home."
How do you do that?
Well, we got in my car, and my supervisor said, "Listen, you're in a band. Can I hear some of your band?" And I said, "Sure. Who's not going to play their tapes?" Yeah. So I put the tape on, and we listened to it for like 45 minutes while we drove home. And we got to my house, and she said, "Listen, I'll take your car home, or I'll take your car because your wife wants you to be here." And I walked in, and Tamara told me. It was just, as soon as I saw her, I knew something bad had happened.
Right.
We immediately went to the Rhoads house with the family and stuff. So, not a good day. Not a good day.
No, I know you.
What did you think? What did went through your mind? What did she tell you? What was it that she said to you?
She just looked at me and said, "It's Randy," and I knew what she meant, and I remember just being shocked. I just stood there for a minute, and then I just broke down and started crying, and then I just said, "Okay, we have to get, it's like got to do something, So I said, "We got to get to the Rhoads house right away." So we drove over to the Rhoads, and the house was packed.
Yeah, you're very tight with the family. Yeah.
I don't think it dawned on me till later that night after we come back from the Rhoads house, and I sat down and thought about it. And it was, can't even describe the feeling.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes it's not even like he's dead because they play him on the radio all the time, and it's just strange that it's. And same with Kevin. Sometimes I don't feel like they're gone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love being like a hockey game, and they play, Bang Your Head, and they play Crazy Train. I'm thinking, I know those guys.
Yeah.
I know those guys.
I mean, isn't that surreal? Like
almost every stadium around the world are doing that.
Yeah.
Right, both songs.
Yeah.
Both songs.
I mean, my kids, are really young, and they both know those songs. Like those. They're in cartoons. I remember watching Crazy Train is in, some big cartoon movie. I mean, that's
the Trolls movie, Trolls World Tour.
Yeah, I mean, it's in everything. You can't go to hockey game. You can't go there. You can't go to a baseball game without hearing these songs. It's just they transcended, and they're your friends. It's just crazy.
I hear those when I'm at a game or something like that, and Ronnie and I are both big Kings fans.
Yeah.
And I just thinking, I think back to sitting at my house with those two guys in the house. I'm thinking now I'm listening to them at a hockey game. It's just it's
Right.
surreal.
And they're still there.
Well, it's kind of like there's Kevin's anthem that he wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, he's certainly got. I mean,
that song is up there. I would have to say with "We Will Rock You" by Queen. It's that much.
Oh yeah, it's
that same
big. Yes.
fist pumping. Let's go get them. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Kevin studied music more than anybody I know. I mean, I remember him one time telling me, look at a Beatles songbook. Every one of the title of the song is in the first line. And I'm like, what? How do you know this? And I looked at
I didn't know that.
Songbook and he was right. It's like he wanted to be a star, and he wanted to study everything that made everybody else successful. How do I get there?
Wow.
These guys did it before me. How do I get there?
Wow.
Would you agree with that, Ronnie?
Yeah, he had more drive to do what he wanted for his dream than anybody I've ever met. And he managed to do it. It's like nobody could stop him.
No.
That's fantastic.
When I first met him, he was, I guess, 17 or 18, and he dressed like Rod Stewart and kind of poofed his hair up a little like Rod Stewart, and he's like 6'3", and and of course people are saying that guy's gay. He didn't give a shit. He would wear girls' clothes if it looked right. He didn't care about what anybody thought, and you could not get one over on him if you wanted to get into a verbal battle. He was so quick-witted, you just couldn't compete with that.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
People would cower at the end of Kevin's rants at them.
He was intense.
But he was, if you were his friend, he was, totally, he had your back. Totally loyal to me. I love the guy. What can I say?
Yeah. Very cool, man.
I remember you were talking.
Like I think I said, I visited his mom yesterday. I'm still friends with his mother.
You were saying about when he bought that house in Hancock Park. He invited me over there, and it was not a good time for me. I was in a bad place, but he invited me over, and it was so cool because he's got such a reputation as being an ass. I mean, that was the reputation that he has. But when I went over to the house, he's like, the only way I can describe it, it wasn't him showing off. It was him sharing it with me. It's like, you were there, and now I'm sharing this with you. He even showed me the bar that had tartan walls. And he goes, I'm going to call this the McNair room.
That was like for me moving in. I'm going to share this with you. And the house was great. I had my own suite. I had my own living room, bedroom, and bathroom.
Wow. Very cool. So do you guys have any other good stories that you haven't shared with anybody else? Yeah, we got to ask. Is there one that's really funny that maybe you haven't brought to the table before? And no pressure.
At these parties, Kevin's girlfriend, let's say whoever he was dating at the time might be there, but Kevin would be like, there was this weird little basement in the house that nobody knew was there. It was like this off door in the kitchen, and you would be down there with some other girl he met at the party while his girlfriend's upstairs.
I don't have one of those.
No, huh?
One of the funniest performances by Quiet Riot I ever saw. The band I was in, Wink, we got invited to play at there's a place in Glendale on Brand Boulevard, and they said, we're going to turn this bar into a rock club, and we want you guys to come and play. So we thought, great, this is fantastic. We're going to be their first act there. They had a stage in the corner as a big bar and had a bunch of tables and stuff. When we walked in, and there was like, to do the sound check, there's two like 80-year-old guys sitting at the tables drinking. They look like they've been there since early in the morning. So we set up and we started to play, and we started to play the two, besides our friends, the two guys are still sitting there drinking, and a couple of old ladies came in and joined them. Well, Randy and Kevin and Kelly came to see us play, and they walked in and they're just like, God, this is terrible, there's nobody. And we're just like, yeah, shit, we're thinking about quitting, just walking out. And Kevin goes, let us play first. I said, all right, go ahead, the stage is yours, And our drummer was basically a jazz blues drummer, and he sat there. They did Back to the Coast, and he's just sitting there going, back to the coast, And they went crazy. They turned up the instruments like to 100. Kevin and Randy were running around, jumping on top of the tables in front of these old ladies sitting there scared to death. And we got thrown out. They told us to get the hell out of the club.
Oh, that's good. See? That's what we were looking for.
That's the gold, you guys.
That's the
Thank
gold
you.
stuff. All right. So I'm going to throw it out there again. Pick up Ron's book and the documentary at redmatchproductions.com. I got it a few years ago, and I've watched that documentary like 3 times in a row, just one after another. The information on Randy there is amazing, and I get to see my friend Kim in there too, so he's in there.
Did you watch the special features?
Yeah, I don't remember. It's been a while since I watched
my narration.
Yeah. Yes. And so, click. There's a link in the YouTube thing. Go there. Otherwise, go on your phone now. Buy Ron's book. Buy the video right now.
I feel like it's an infomercial.
You have nothing else to do right now other than this, and you'll get to learn a lot of information. Okay. And then send money to Kim so he has some money too. Just send him more money.
Yeah.
We'll put a PayPal link right to Kim. A GoFundMe just to keep him.
I can't imagine.
Eventually, I'm gonna make him stop fucking smoking
God.
those goddamn cigarettes. Jesus.
Yeah. What the hell? Those are that's at $15 a pack in New York City. I don't know what it is in LA right now.
Yeah, that's
just as bad.
About that. Yeah. They quit selling these in California, and I heard about that, and I ran around to about 10 different liquor stores and cigar stores, and I bought about 18 cases of them.
Those Shermans?
Yeah.
I used to smoke those.
Oh shit!
I take one hit and put it out because I wasn't really a smoker. But they have this sweet kind of taste, right? They're kind of sweet, right?
This is a filterless one, so.
Wow, hardcore.
Wow. No kidding. All right. So we normally on our show we do some segments, but it's usually with. I know you guys were also musicians too, but we're just going to go right to our very the fun part. Okay. So this is the FU section, the fuck you section. I see Tommy's got his kids here, so I'm afraid to say too much.
That's just my chicken.
Oh, it's just Tommy's chicken's there. Tommy's chicken's in the room. So, all right, so this is the fuck you section. It's honestly meant as a compliment for whoever was saying fuck you to. The idea behind it is somebody is so talented, you just look at them and say, fuck you, how can you be that good? Now, obviously, as a guitar player, we could do this easily to Randy, and if you're a singer, you should be able to do it to Kevin, because, wow, both amazingly talented, and they've both been in the same band. But I'm going to start this. No, actually, you know what? Lenny, who do you have for a fuck you this week?
Well, I was going to talk about Bernie Tormey, who I was a fan of his when he was with the Ian Gillan band, and he was a guy that they got to replace, Randy when the tragedy happened.
Yes.
And I had heard that they originally went after Michael Schenker, who I guess wanted too much money. I don't know if there's real truth to that, but they wound up with Bernie, and I give him credit for trying to step into shoes that were unfillable. I just, kind of sad, because he's no longer with us. But that's who I'm going to give the FU to, just because, of having, to try it and have a go at it, he just couldn't handle it. Yeah. So a little bit different this week. But my other one is I'm going to direct this towards you, Joey.
Okay.
Is because you started this whole project doing this really cool thing with the show, and you bring it on your friends, and I get to sit here and take it all in, especially these stories where it's nothing but gold. So I just want to say F you to you, and congratulations for
Thank you.
Doing this. And can we all just give Joey a round of applause?
Not necessarily. This is just fun, and asking basically my older brother to come on is not a problem, And I wanted to, I felt close enough to Ron to ask him to come on. We had texted a few times when I got the book, and obviously being close with Kim, I just felt close. I was like, I'll talk to Ron, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to drop Kim's name. Like, we're going to have Kim on too. So this way, maybe I feel a little more comfortable, like talking to these three fucking weird New Yorkers anyway. So, all right. So let's bring it over to Tommy. Who's your fuck you, Tommy? I got to do this right there. That's Tommy.
Do you know what? Nothing other than going back and listening to Randy and the Quiet Riot stuff, which is, you're absolutely right. I mean, the production on the first two Quiet Riot records was difficult to get through, but when it became Mental Health, I thought that was, again, like I said earlier, just a moment where everything came together. Hard rock. I mean, I think the other band that was probably hitting a little bit of pop stride, like they were, that hard rock pop, was the Scorpions came out with like a Hurricane, I think, around the same time, and I think that the Whitesnake was around the same time. But I think that really Kevin and his band really nailed it. And listening back, and that's the reason why I asked about Carlos too, because I think he brought himself a bit to the record, especially the Mental Health. So I fuck you to those guys too for bringing
very underrated guitarists.
Yeah, underrated guitar player. I watched him do Carlos do a clinic with Warren while he was in Rat and stuff when they were doing that. And again, a very sympathetic player too, and seemed like a very nice guy. And so, inspirational too, just watching him do this stuff with Rat as well. So, fuck you to Carlos too if he's listening.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, I'll do my fuck you. Then I'm gonna bring it on to our guests. I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna hit up Randy. Although he will definitely get it another week. Randy will
get it another week.
Well, yeah, he was definitely my biggest influence. And having said that, I don't play anything like Randy at all. Nothing. I do say that my big fuck you might be a little bit of a surprise, is Lindsey Buckingham. There's a guy that can sing and play guitar amazingly well. He can really play, and he's using his fucking fingers like Richie Kotzen, that asshole. But yeah, there's a guy that, really changed, Fleetwood Mac into everything they became. And just a really great guitar player. All right, so I'm just going to give a fuck you to Lindsey. All right. We're going to hold Ron for last. So, Kim, who do you want to give a fuck you to that is amazingly talented? Tell us, who do you get a fuck you to? You know so many people.
When I listened to the radio, and I didn't listen to rock music at all for years. I just listened to classical. And only the last couple of years I started listening again. And even though he's been out for years, I was a bass player. And I remember the first time I heard Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I heard Flea, and I went like, no, you can't play fucking bass like that. You can't do that. And it pisses me off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the perfect example. Yes, exactly.
That's perfect. Yeah, just powerful, fucking melodic.
Yeah, I mean, he plays slap bass, he plays melodic, he plays whatever the song is. Just with anybody else on bass in that band, they're nothing. He's just
absolutely.
So fuck you for being so good.
and plays the trumpet.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Ron, you're up. So who are you gonna give a fuck you to?
All right, well, I got one that's in your vein and one that's like real.
Yeah, okay, good. Good.
So I was going to USC Film School, and I had this class every Monday night where the big directors would come and they'd show their movie because it was taught by this guy named Arthur Knight that wrote for Variety, and he had a book out. And so George Lucas came, and he shows us Star Wars. And so it's like I'm in film school and I see Star Wars before anybody.
Oh God, really?
Wow. So, okay, fuck you, George Lucas, because I'll never be able to do that.
Yeah, I would never pick up a fucking camera again.
Yeah, really. Let's ruin it for students. Oh, by the way, I made this.
I did end up working like in the music biz, so.
Yeah.
Wow. The other one, though, maybe I shouldn't say it on the show, but what the hell?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sharon Osbourne.
Oh.
I'm sure that she had nothing. I mean, Randy's reasoning for not wanting to stay out there probably had something to do with her besides just Ozzy. But on a personal level, when that live tribute album came out, they used one or two of my pictures in it, and, I got stiffed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She's shutting us down. This show will never be seen again.
Yeah, it will be banned in every country in the world.
You can delete that if you want.
Never.
No. Nah.
That's fantastic.
Let's dance with the devil.
Yeah. Wow. So we'll close the show, guys. Thank you so much.
That was great.
Yeah. Thank you.
This was absolutely one of my favorite shows we've ever done, and probably.
When will it be on YouTube? The replay.
Immediately. You could go on.
Like I've got it up right now, and I can't do anything.
I'll send you a new link in case there's any issues.
Okay.
It's usually up there. Sometimes there's a little bit of time processing. We had that little break in between, so sometimes
they got to process that.
It has to reprocess. And if not, I will make sure that it gets up there. Not a problem.
All right, great.
Get there quickly.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. An absolute pleasure, guys.
Happy belated birthday, Ron.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
All right. So this is Musings, Rants, and Guitars signing off. Don't forget, get the book with the DVD. Have Ron
subscribe to the show.
Yeah, and subscribe. All right.
Click the bell. See you guys.
I just hit subscribe.